Shalom, good morning. We today start a very important psalm, Psalm 119. It is very long, so I'm going to do it in 3 parts over the next 3 days. Today is verses 1 to 56. I remind you the primary purpose of these daily studies is to confirm what is needed to inherit the eternal salvation promise of God, of avoiding the second death of Revelations 2 verse 11. 20 verse 6, 20 verse 14, and 21 verse 8, i.e. entry into the promised new heaven and earth. We have seen many scriptures so far from both the Old and New Testament that stipulate it is the keeping of Yahweh God's commandments and laws. In the New Testament, faith in the sacrifice of Yeshua was added, i.e. in Luke 18:18. and verse 20, Revelations 14:12 and 22:14, it says, "Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have a right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city." Read attentively the following psalm. It goes through the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph being the first, and gives clear and guidance under each one. Note the focus, the subject matter, of the verses. As we should have seen with some of the prophetic psalms, i.e. written by David, some of the words of this one can equally apply to words of the Messiah. Unlike my previous method of commenting at the end of the psalm, because almost every verse has important things to note, I have briefly drawn attention to things after each verse of a few verses. So make your notes. So, verse 1, Aleph. Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of Yahweh. My comment, the undefiled, i.e. holy, are those who walk in the law of God, is what we are told. Verse 2, blessed are they that keep his testimonies, and that seek him with the whole heart. My comment, this is exactly what God said he would. He said he would bless those who keep his laws, his way, and curse those who do not. Verse 3. They also do no iniquity, they walk in his ways. My comment, remember Matthew chapter 7 verses 21 to 23, when Yeshua said, "And then will I profess unto them," those are those who came saying, "Lord, Lord, let me in," thinking they were doing all the right things. "And then will I say unto them, I never knew you." That means not even at baptism. "Depart from me, you that work iniquity." So those who do not keep his ways, law, commit iniquity, and are not known by God nor his Son, and end up in the lake of fire, which is the second death. And he said, "Never knew you." I mean, not even at their baptism or all the times they went to church and paid their tithes and did all those things they thought were good, because they were born of corruptible seed, man's denomination, man's faith, not the faith of the true God and his written word. So it is clear we are to keep the laws of God. They were not nailed to the cross or other excuses or understanding as taught by some people. Verse 4. Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently. Oh, that my ways were directed to keep thy statutes. Then shall I not be ashamed when I have respect unto all thy commandments. My comment, our ways should be to keep his ways. Verse 7. I will praise thee with uprightness of heart, when I shall have learned thy righteous judgments. I will keep thy statutes, O forsake me not utterly. My comment, upright heart is to learn and keep his judgments. Yah requires us to follow with the right heart. Verse 9, the second letter of the alphabet, Beth. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his ways, by taking heed thereof according to thy word. With my whole heart have I sought thee. O let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. My comment: obedience to the word of God cleanses our actions and ways. We are to pray that we do not wander from his commandments. And if we never knew them, pray that we come unto them. The congregation of Israel, all obedient believers, were instructed to tie reminders of the commandments on their garments and body, i.e., hide, keep close to them, or their hearts, so that they won't depart from them, hopefully. Verse 12. Blessed art thou, O Yahweh, teach me thy statutes. With my lips have I declared all the judgments of thy mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of thy testimonies, as much as in all riches. I will meditate in thy precepts, and have respect unto thy ways. I will delight myself in thy statutes, I will not forget thy word. Verse 17, Gimel. Deal bountifully with thy servant, that I may live and keep thy word. Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law. I am a stranger in the earth. Hide not thy commandments from me. My comment: the deceiver and his ministers in sheep's clothing want us to hide the commandments from ourselves. Do not be deceived. They are for everyone. Verse 20. My soul breaketh for the longing that it have unto thy judgments at all times. Thou hast rebuked the proud that are cursed, which do err from thy commandments. Remove from me reproach and contempt, for I have kept thy testimonies. Princes also did sit and speak against me, but thy servant did meditate in thy statutes. Thy testimonies also are my delight and my counsellors. My comment: what happens to those who depart from keeping the commandments? What does the writer use for his teacher, his counsellor? Psalm 20, verse 25, Deleth. My soul cleanseth unto the dust. Quicken thou me according to thy word. I have declared my ways, and thou heardest me. Teach me thy statutes. Make me to understand the way of thy precepts, so shall I talk of thy wondrous works. My soul melteth for heaviness, strengthen thou me according to thy word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me thy law graciously. I have chosen the way of truth. Thy judgments have I laid before me. I have stuck unto thy testimonies. O Yahweh, put me not to shame. We went through that word truth some days back. What is truth, and how important is it? Psalms 119, verse 142. Thy law is truth. Verse 151. O Yahweh, all thy commandments are truth. 1 John 2, verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. John 4:23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. And John 4:24. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. That means our actions, our beliefs must be true, not traditional. Moving on to verse 33, letter of the alphabet, he. Teach me, O Yahweh, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the ends. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. My comment: Remember Psalm 111 verse 10? A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So what understanding have those who teach or practice not keeping the commandments? Psalm verse 41. Vol. Let thy mercies come also unto me, O Yahweh, even thy salvation according to thy word. This verse talks about mercies. Remember Exodus chapters 20 verse 6, where God says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So not everyone gets mercy, or what is called in New Testament grace. Verse 43. And take not thy word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in thy judgments. So shall I keep thy law continually for ever and ever, and I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. I will speak of thy testimonies also before kings, and will not be ashamed, and I will delight myself in thy commandments, which I have loved. My hands also will I lift up unto thy commandments, which I have loved, and I will meditate in thy statutes. Verse 49, verse 51. The proud have had me greatly in derision, yet have I not declined from thy law. I remembered thy judgments of old, O Yahweh, and have comforted myself. Horror hath taken hold upon me because of the wicked that forsake thy law. The statutes have been my song in the house of my pilgrimage. I remembered thy name, O Yahweh, in the night, and have kept thy law. This I had because I kept thy precepts. So in verse 57, it says the wicked forsake God's law. And as we just read in Matthew, which is why Yeshua said he never knew them, they were committing iniquity when they departed from his Father's law. Shalom until tomorrow when we continue from verse 57.